Ahoy there, Captain Benzie here, coming at you with another video from inside the Eve Echo's final test. We're continuing the theme of me being obsessed with frigates today by having a look at the Minmatar Breacher Assault, which is a Tech Level 7 combat frigate. Now before we jump in on this one, if you do enjoy the video, let me know by hitting like on it, subscribe to the channel for all things Eve Echoes, and ding that notification bell so that you know when the next video goes live. Let me know what topics you'd like to see me cover, what ships you'd like to see me fit, and what questions you have that you want answered in the comment section down below. Also, come find me on social media, including the Catskull Cartel Discord, which has plenty of public channels for you to come and talk about all things Eve Echoes, and a bunch of really friendly folk on there who will help you with anything that you need. Talking about help as well, if you do want to go the extra mile and help support this channel, you can do so by joining me on Patreon. Every single dollar, every single pledge really does help keep this content going. This is my only source of income, so every little pledge helps. So thank you all so much. Anyway, that all said and done, let's talk about the Breacher Assault. Now, before we start, this isn't like standard assault destroyers, like say the Algos Assault or the Talwar Assault, that have an activatable assault mode. For some reason, the Breacher Assault doesn't. It doesn't have that, which is slightly confusing under the name. What it does have, though, are 3 high slots, 3 mids, 3 lows, and 3 of each of the rigs, with a roll bonus of plus 5 seconds to the damage control activation time. Now, we've talked about damage control units briefly on this channel already, but just to have a little look at what these actually are, they are low slots that give a rather large buff to shield, armor, and structure. Now, the standard buff, cold, without this active, in this case on a Mark V, is about 6.82% on each of those, which is a pretty sizable buff, not huge on its own, but pretty sizable. Once every 150 seconds, 150 second cooldown, you can activate a damage control for usually 13 seconds. We've got the plus 5 second bonus on this particular ship. This gets an 18 second activation time, where those resistances are boosted by a whopping 800%. It means for the duration of you being attacked, the duration of that damage control unit being active, you take almost nothing. Now, looking at the other stat bonuses as well that this ship gets, for every skill in micro warp drive operation, you get a reduction of 10% to the micro warp drive signature radius penalty. Remember that micro warp drives massively whack up your signature radius and make you harder to hit. So here, with 5 levels in micro warp drive operation, that's a 50% reduction in the signature radius, and then a further 5% for each point, 50% in total there. Sorry, 25% in total there, warp drive capacitor need. So it uses less capacitor, and the signature radius is considerably smaller when using a warp drive. Now, Advanced Frigate Command bonus then gives you plus 5% small missile torpedo damage, stacks up to 25, and a 4% reduction in small missile torpedo activation time, up to 20% reduction. Now, 25% damage and a 20% reduction in activation time is actually quite a significant damage increase. That should not be sniffed at. Finally then, a 7.5% increase in shield booster amount, combined up to the full 5, that would be a 37.5% increase in shield booster. Statistics-wise, this is pretty on par for most frigates. It actually has slightly higher defense than you'd expect for a frigate that looks like a floating trash heap with some sails attached. But ultimately, otherwise, it is a frigate in every sense of the word. Slightly faster warp speed, but it is Minmatar, so what do you expect? Now, for how to fit this thing out, of course, I've gone for 3 Republic Fleet small missile launchers, mainly because these things get that 23-kilometer range, decent activation time there of 10 seconds, a lot of damage on 481, along with a very fast explosion velocity and a very small explosion radius. Great for taking out enemy frigates and destroyers, and can still do decent amount of damage, even up to cruiser and battle cruiser level. Against something like a battleship, you can take it out because you're going to be hitting it hard and fast enough over time, and you're going to just be able to survive, but of course you're not going to be able to stop it warping out unless you have any low slots, so any mid slots like the warp drives, warp disruptors. I don't have those fitted on here. Now, of course, in addition to the damage control unit, since this thing gets bonuses to micro warp drives, it made sense to have one of those fitted. A 528% increase to the flight velocity just means this thing gets speedy when it needs to, and it activates every 12 seconds. Massive signature radius adjustment there of 227%. That does, of course, get reduced by half. So it's actually only going to be, what, 113% increase? I mean, that's still big. Let's not lie. It's still doubling the size of your ship, more than, which does make it fairly easy to hit, but you're moving pretty fast as well. Finally then, a Republic Fleet small shield booster, just to get the extra bonuses there as well of the additional shield booster amount from the Breacher Assault's abilities. So, pretty standard build. As you'd expect for most of the frigate builds, as we've talked about them on here, if we go into skills, you're going to be looking at things like, of course, your frigate command and advanced frigate command. Micro warp drive operation is an absolute must for using this particular ship, and we're going to be looking at the small missile upgrades here. So small missile torpedo operation for just the straight up damage and reduction in explosion radius. You could take that up to advanced, just to get the ballistic control system activation time, but you don't really need that for this particular ship. So here you're going to be just getting the small missile torpedo damage and explosion radius deductions there as well. Small missile torpedo upgrade for, again, extra damage, extra flight time, and velocity. That just means more range. If anything, I would get both of those up to level 5, and then go into the advanced small missile torpedo upgrade, mainly to get that extra range. The range is more important than the damage, if I'm being completely honest, because you can kite. Anything that is big enough that it's not going to be able to hit you, you can get up close and personal, and your missiles will do quite nicely against them. Anything that is small enough or just powerful enough to do some real damage to you, you can try and outrange it and hit it with the missiles, and that's basically the aim here. Under maintenance technology as well, of course, frigate defense upgrade and advanced frigate defense upgrade are always going to be useful. None of the other stuff on that list, of course, matters. And of course, shields. Anyway, that said and done, I think it is well worth us actually having a little undock, try this thing in action. I think I've only got a Mark III anomaly, a Tier 3 anomaly, in the current system that I can try this on, but just to showcase what this actually does and the kind of damage that it can do against other frigate-sized targets. So, let's have a look at the different cosmic anomalies. We've got an Angel Cartel base and Angel Inquisitor anomalies. Nice. So, let's actually clear one of these Inquisitor anomalies. We can talk about those as well. Always useful. So basically, Inquisitor anomalies are kind of like Scout anomalies, just with slightly different loot inside. Basically, when you clear an anomaly, as long as there is a base nearby, here you can see an Angel Cartel base 3, as long as there's a base nearby, the anomalies will respawn at the base's current level, so currently anything that we've cleared will respawn at a 3. There is a chance of it respawning either as a small, a medium, or a large anomaly. So currently, anything that respawns will most likely be a small angel anomaly 3, a medium angel anomaly 3, or a large angel anomaly 3. It may also be a scout or an inquisitor. It's incredibly unlikely to be either of those, but it can be. Right, so with a 23-kilometer range, I'm going to actually just directly move away. We'll just go 25 kilometers for now from the Thrasher. The Thrasher, to me, seems to be the most obvious. Let's put on that micro warp drive, just so we can see how ridiculously fast this actually makes the ship. And you can see, crikey, the damage there. It's a decent whack of damage against a ship that size. We're hitting fairly decent speeds. Let's see how we get there. What is the actual capital range on these now? 22.91, so I don't want to go outside the 23 kilometer. Let's actually move into a little bit of range there. And then let's go straight actually for an orbit around this particular Thrasher, and we'll see what we can do here. Damage-wise, 1,002 damage per hit. Nearly took it out in one. That's horrific. That's horrific. This thing's just able to just punch out a significant amount of damage, actually. I'm surprised at how much damage that can do. The Breacher itself, the Tier 3 version of the Breacher, I'm not a huge fan of. Ultimately, I think if you're going missile ships at Tier 3, just the Kestrel massively outclassifies it in everything. The only thing that the Breacher has going for it that the Kestrel doesn't is the fact that the Breacher gets a minor increase to abilities with shields. And it's just like, if you're in the Kestrel, you don't get hit anyway, so you don't need to worry about shields. Okay, here we are. Well, now let's get that warp drive properly in use. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Oh, that's speedy 2,500. Are we going to hit 25? Yep, we've hit 2.5. Can we hit 26? No, not quite. But there we are, 2,500 meters per second, 2.5 kilometers a second. That's speedy. If nothing else, that's going to be really useful for looting battlefields. Cool, but as we're getting closer and actually going into that orbit, let's turn that off because we don't want that speed because it's going to make it difficult to hold the orbit. Or do we? Yeah, screw it, we'll put it on. We'll keep it on. It's mainly like turning it off just for the capacitor, but this doesn't seem to be using all that much, actually, though we have shot out to like the 28 kilometer mark, which is the problem here. Let's get that back down to 22. We'll take the warp drive off just so we get that accurate orbit time there. Moving to 24, still not going to hit yet. 23, hopefully those missiles will now hit, though the direct angle may be slightly off. Let's observe that Thrasher, because that just, oh, straight through the shields, almost through all of the armor in one hit as well. Oh, that's going to pop in one hit now. Yep, down it goes. Bang. Cool, let's move on to the next one. 3 missiles incoming, we should be comfortably within range there. Incoming, straight down to hull in one hit. That's a powerful punch on that frigate, and that's why this is called an assault frigate, I guess. But just to have a look at the damage control as well, if we have a look at the fittings now, go on to defense, you see I've got 4,041. You can see the defenses there, 7, 25, 44, 53. Those are all based on the damage control unit here being in cold mode. So we're looking 441 as total defense with sort of those spreads there. Now if I activate this and then jump back into the fitting, you'll see that's now shot all the way up to 8,287. The electromagnetic resistance there has already gone up 50. A shield with a 55% reduction to electromagnetic damage. That's awesome. Anyway, so let's have a look around now. We've cleared the first room of the anomaly. I'm not going to worry about looting. There's very little I would need from these guys. We're going to activate that next gate, jump through, and clear out whatever's in there to get the nice loot from the second room. We call these rooms, but obviously they're not actually rooms, they're just pockets of space. Cool, we got 4 ships this time. Not that I expect those to last any much longer. There we go, locked on. We'll put an orbit around the Thrasher. And again, let's just observe these things dying in literally 2 volleys. Oh, shame. I always feel bad when I blow up Thrashers. I love Thrashers. I love Thrashers so much. Probably my favourite destroyer in the entire game. Yes, that includes the Shan Yu. The Shan Yu's cool and all, but it's not a Thrasher. Let's be honest. Oh, and there goes that breacher. Popped it like a zit. Another Thrasher. Oh, poor thing. Poor 3 Guild Belt Shark. At least it doesn't die in the one volley. It just about holds on with, what, I think just over half its hull left there. Shield's gone, armor gone, pop goes the Weasel. Finally back onto the Gisty probe here. Again, the probe is actually a hull that I do really quite like. I like my Covert Ops probe. I do actually like the standard probe as well, but there it is, there it's gone. We should, I think, get another wave, which I don't think is going to last much longer. Yeah, it's Thrashers, Breaches. I mean, it's only a 3. This is only a Inquisitor Anomaly 3, so what do you really expect? If you answered a challenge, then not really, not when you're in a Tech 7 ship. This ship ultimately is better used against things like cruisers, or some of the higher tier anomalies, because you can get in, you can move quite quickly, and deal a fair punch of damage. I mean, that's what, 100 odd DPS is not bad by any stretch. 141 DPS. I seem to be moving further away, despite having very politely asked my ship to orbit. Okay, we've got the micro warp drive on, so we are shooting in at an alarming rate. Look at that, 48 kilometers, 45, 42, 40, 37, 34. It can't even keep up. It just doesn't ping fast enough. I do like micro warp drives. Obviously, the downside to a micro warp drive is that if you do get into warp scrambler range, if someone puts a warp disruptor on you, or you fly into an interdictosphere bubble, that is kind of it. You are damaged, you're stuck in place there. The micro warp drive cannot be activated. Cool, let's pop the shield booster on now as well, just to see how much that actually heals per cycle now. That goes round remarkably quickly on this particular ship. And you can see that has healed very, very quickly, thanks to those bonuses. I like this as a frigate. As a tier 7 frigate, that's not bad at all. It's got some pretty good stats to it. It does a decent whack of damage, and it doesn't look all that bad either. I mean, if the Minmatar aesthetic is your thing, which obviously it is mine, it's a pretty cool looking ship. Just the way it dances and falls around itself. I mean, I get that to some people it does look a little bit like a scrap heap just with some solar panels strapped to the front, but I quite like that. And of course, I've mentioned before in my stealth bomber video, I quite like the Hound. You know, the Hound is a cool looking ship as well, and there you can see the problem with the micro warp drive is that you do sometimes get out of range a little bit too quickly. Let's get back into an orbit. In fact, let's just approach. Don't even worry with an orbit, just fly straight at them. I'll then turn the micro warp drive off as we hit range, so that I can just sit there comfortably in the middle. And there we go. Low capacitor, yeah, because I'm using a micro warp drive and that thing chows cap. Okay, finally on to the probe here. Does that go down in one? Does a probe go down in one, or is it just the breacher? Here it goes, here come the missiles! Yes, it does. And then the breacher should go down in one as well. That should be the end of the waves. Actually, let's start looting whilst we're picking off the last few here. Drone control? Really? Why did that have drone control on it? Seems a really weird thing for a Gisty frigate to have, but there we go. It's on camera. Drone control came from it. Start looting some of these others as well. Mark III inertial stabilizer. Nothing overly exciting in the loot field here. Let's take it off all and go straight into loot. Angel debris. Let's approach. Don't need to worry about a micro warp drive or anything just for this approach. It's nice and close. Oh, hang on. The angel debris I can't loot yet. That's the Inquisitor stuff. I need to complete the final wave there. Let's put the shield on for just a brief moment. Start to push that up there. Does still use a fair whack of capacitor, even on this particular one. So let's put the damage control on there. If I try to loot the angel debris here, it'll say, yeah, containers locked, destroy the enemies first. This is kind of like in a scout anomaly. You just have to kill the enemies through, and then you can loot all the boxes. They call it angel debris, but in a scout anomaly, it's things like comms towers, data centers, that kind of thing. They're basically treasure chests that are being guarded by pirates. Space pirates, admittedly, so they're kind of space treasure chests. And let's be honest as well, this whole area does look pretty cool. I don't think anyone can deny this is a pretty cool looking area. We're going to move in, we're going to loot all this stuff in just a moment, get that frigate wreck while we're waiting. There we are, Mark III small capacitor battery. Nothing overly exciting at this stage in the beta. But I suppose, like Mark III, useful for doing the challenges, like when I've done the Minmatar video, I fitted the Rifter out using just Mark III gear to showcase what it looks like, and what your damage would, what you'd expect your damage to be using modules like that. Down goes the Thrasher. That should now be the final wave, I'm hoping. And we can start to loot. Yes, we can. Now here you can see, not only do we get parts like smash trigger units, but also a sentry damage augmenter, BP there. We're going to move in on the angel debris. I should turn the shield. I'm terrible at turning my modules off on these videos. We're going to move into this angel debris, put the micro warp drive on just to get there super, super fast. You see it turns grey once you've looted it as well, so that you can remember that you've done that particular one. What do we get in this one? Small dynamic fuel valve and contaminated nanite polymers. Obviously, things like the contaminated nanite polymers, you can also get those from reprocessing wrecks yourself, and ultimately that's what we're doing here. We're looting ship debris. So it is kind of literally, it's already reprocessed. Reprocessed, rather than reprocessing in a machine, these were reprocessed with cannons. Nice and close here. Metal scraps. Still not entirely certain what metal scraps do. We've had a few of them kicking around in the corp hangar for a while now. I'm assuming they're something that you kind of use in some kind of construction or something, maybe for like reverse engineering certain BPs, or I don't know, antikinetic transverse bulwark. Let's loot that destroyer as we go past. Here, I love how every time someone logs in right now, it's "Are we under siege?" We've spent the past 3-4 days under siege from a Chinese raiding party under the name of JR, who apparently have hit quite a few different nullsec corporations and done some really, really quite impressive damage. Auxiliary thrusters 1 blueprint. So there we go. That is everything there looted now. And that ultimately is the Breacher Assault. A great little combat ship. Obviously, again, I'm just popping tier 3s here rather than the kind of tier 7 that it should be doing, but it can. Definitely can. I might see if I can pull this one out in some of our little PvP battles tomorrow. As we're coming towards the end of the final test, we are doing little like PvP 1v1 matches, so this is one I would like to test out against someone else, see how we get on in that. Anyway, with all of that looted, we've had a little look at Inquisitor anomalies. I'm going to head back to the Serpentis base, dock up, and that's it for me for this evening. Anyway, folks, thank you ever so much for watching. Hope that explains Inquisitor anomalies a little bit. Hope you do like the look of this frigate. I quite enjoy the Breacher line. They're not as good as Kestrels by any stretch of the imagination, but I kind of prefer how they look. But I know that's just me. Anyway, folks, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching, happy sailing, and see you in New Eden.